Right now, in a quiet office tower, there is a vault with thousands of diamonds in it, sorted, weighed, and deliberately kept off the market. Because diamonds were never rare. They are one of the most common gemstones on Earth, and there are enough sitting in storage to crash the price overnight. And yet, you'll hand over a month of your salary for a single one. So why does a common stone cost a small fortune? The answer is one of the boldest tricks in the history of business, and almost nobody notices they fell for it. We're here to ask the simple question behind everything worth anything. Why money? With gold, the value was real. We did a whole video on it. Gold is genuinely scarce. All the gold ever mined would fit on a single tennis court, and the laws of chemistry made it the one metal worth trusting. Nobody had to convince you gold was valuable. The Earth did that first. The diamond is the opposite story. Its price isn't scarcity. It isn't chemistry. It was built, brick by brick, by a single company and a single line of advertising over the last 100 years. So if you want to understand the price tag, stop looking at the stone. Follow the money. And it starts with a fact the whole industry would rather you forgot. What a diamond actually is. A diamond is carbon. That's it. The same element as the graphite in your pencil, or the soot in a chimney. Take that ordinary carbon, squeeze it deep underground under enormous heat and pressure, and the atoms lock into a tight, clear crystal. That crystal is a diamond. Hold a pencil in a diamond ring, and you're holding the very same atoms, just arranged two different ways. So this is not some exotic material that fell from space. Carbon is one of the most common elements in the entire universe, and the Earth has been quietly making diamonds for billions of years, an enormous number of them. So the hard part was never finding diamonds. The hard part, as we're about to see, was keeping them rare. For most of history, diamonds really were rare. They came from a few riverbeds in India and later Brazil. Only kings and queens owned them. Then, in 1871, everything changed. Prospectors hit an enormous deposit in South Africa. Not a handful of stones in a river. Whole hills of diamond-rich rock. Suddenly, diamonds could be dug up by the ton. By the simple laws of supply and demand, that should have been the end of the story. Flood the market with a common stone, and the price collapses. A diamond should have become about as special as a polished piece of glass. But it didn't. And the reason it didn't is one of the most remarkable business moves ever made. The men who owned those South African mines saw the danger. If everyone sold diamonds at once, everyone would go broke. So they did the opposite of competing. They merged. In 1888, a businessman named Cecil Rhodes pulled the mines together into one company, De Beers. And that single company would go on to control the world's diamonds for the next 100 years. At its peak, De Beers handled around 80 to 90% of every rough diamond on the planet. Think about that. Not a bigger share than its rivals, almost all of it. They owned the mines, the rough stones, and the price. So they could do what no normal seller can. Decide how many diamonds the world was even allowed to see. Here is how you make a common thing feel rare. You hide most of it. De Beers did not sell every diamond it dug up. It held huge amounts back, locked in vaults, deliberately kept off the market. When demand rose, it released a few more. When demand fell, it released fewer, or stopped, to keep the price from dropping. It even bought up diamonds from other mines, to keep those from flooding the market too. At its height, the company sat on a stockpile worth billions, gathering dust in London, so you'd never learn how many really exist. So the rarity you feel staring into a jewelry case is not nature. It is a tap turned by a company, drip by drip. The diamonds exist. There are warehouses of them. You are simply not allowed to have them cheaply. But controlling supply only sets the price. You still need people who want to buy. And by the 1930s, that was a problem. Diamond demand was falling. Prices were soft. People didn't see the point. So in 1938, De Beers hired an American advertising agency, NW Air. Their job was not to sell a product. It was to change what people believed, to make a diamond feel like a necessary part of love itself. And in 1947, a copywriter named Francis Garrity, working late one night, wrote 4 words that would do exactly that. A diamond is forever. That one sentence has run in some form in almost every Western country for nearly 80 years. And that one line did something quietly genius. It told you a diamond should last forever, which also told you that you should never sell it. And a market with no resale is a market the seller controls completely. Now think about something you always assumed was ancient. The diamond engagement ring. The idea that proposing means buying a diamond. It feels timeless. It is not. Before that campaign, most engagement rings did not have a diamond at all. The tradition was largely created, sold to a whole generation as if it had always been true. The diamond didn't earn its place in the proposal. It was advertised into it, and we have called it romance ever since. If you're enjoying this, a quick subscribe means you won't miss the next one. Now, back to it. And they didn't stop at the ring. They shaped the very rules you use to judge the stone. You've heard them. The 4 C's, cut, color, clarity, and carat, they sound like timeless gemology, the laws of physics for diamonds. But that grading language was spread with the industry's help to give buyers a tidy way to feel one stone was worth more, and to justify the price. Then there was the spending rule. How much should you spend on a ring? At first, the ads suggested 1 month's salary. Then, in the 1980s, they quietly changed the number to 2. There is no law of value behind that figure. Someone simply wrote it in an advertisement, and millions of people came to treat it as a rule. And it worked, almost too well. Look at Japan. In the 1960s, the diamond engagement ring barely existed there. Only about 5% of brides got one. De Beers ran the same playbook, adapted for Japan. Within about 20 years, that number had climbed to around 60% and kept rising past 70. A custom that did not exist became, in a single generation, simply what you do. And this is the cleanest proof that the value was manufactured. You can literally watch a belief get installed in a society, year by year, advertising dollar by advertising dollar. It may be the most successful ad campaign ever run. The diamond didn't change. The story changed, and the story is what people were actually buying. So let's bring this all the way down to you, standing at the counter. You've been handed a number to spend, 2 months of your pay, on a stone the marketing made feel mandatory. That isn't us telling you what to do with your money. It's just worth seeing the machine clearly before you decide anything. For years, diamonds were even sold as a smart investment, something that quietly grows in value, just sitting in a drawer. Hold that thought for about 10 seconds. Because here comes the part that stings the most. The thing you were promised would last forever and hold its value. Turn around and try to sell it back. What happens next is the hardest proof in this entire story. And the best part is, you don't need to trust us. You can run the test yourself. If a diamond truly held its value, you could sell it back for close to what you paid. So try it. Walk out of the store with your diamond, then turn around and try to sell it. You'll be offered a fraction of the price, often less than half, sometimes far less. The moment the stone leaves the shop, most of its value simply vanishes. Why? Because there is almost no real resale market. The price you paid was a retail price, set by a controlled supply and a powerful story, not a market price that buyers and sellers freely agree on. Compare that to gold. Gold has a live, public price anywhere on Earth, every second of the day. A diamond can't do that. And a thing you can't resell at its price was never really worth that price. And there's a darker line in this story that the ads never showed you. For decades, some of those stones came out of war zones, mined under violence, and sold to fund it. The world gave them a grim name: blood diamonds. Eventually, the industry built a system to screen them out, and it did help. But sit with what it means. The same story that made a diamond feel like pure, innocent romance was powerful enough to keep the human cost of getting it almost entirely out of sight. That is the real power of a great story. It doesn't only add value that isn't there. it can hide a price that very much is. The sparkle was always doing two jobs at once. For 100 years, that whole machine held together on one quiet assumption, that only the earth could make a diamond. And now, even that is gone. We can grow diamonds in a factory. Take carbon, recreate that same heat and pressure in a machine. And in a few weeks, you get a diamond. Not a fake, not a diamond-like stone. The exact same crystal, the same carbon, atom for atom. Even expert jewelers can't tell them apart without special equipment. There is only one difference: price. A lab-grown diamond can cost a small fraction of a mined one, and that gap keeps widening. By the mid-2020s, lab-grown stones had gone from a curiosity to roughly half of all the engagement rings sold in America. So the customer can finally ask the dangerous question out loud: if this stone is identical and costs a fraction, what was I really paying for before? And the answer's arriving in real time. The company that built the entire illusion is now coming apart. In recent years, De Beers has been written down, its value slashed by billions, its owner openly trying to sell the business off. The monopoly that spent a century convincing the world a common rock was priceless is being undone by the one thing it could never buy, hide, or control: a factory that makes the same crystal for less. The story still works on millions of people, but for the first time in 100 years, the spell is finally cracking. So step back and look at the whole picture. This series keeps circling one question: what makes anything worth anything? And the diamond hands us a clean answer by showing us a different kind of value. Some value is real, built into the thing itself. Gold is like that. Its scarcity and its chemistry are facts you cannot argue with. Some value is state-backed. It works because a government and the law stand behind it. The dollar in your pocket is like that. And some value is manufactured, created by controlling supply and telling a powerful story, repeated for so long it starts to feel like truth. That is the diamond. None of them is exactly fake, but they are not the same. And once you can tell them apart, you never look at a price tag the same way again. So, why are diamonds so expensive? Not because they're rare. They aren't. Not because of chemistry. That only made them pretty. They are expensive because, for 100 years, a single company controlled the supply. And a single line of advertising controlled the meaning. The diamond is proof of something a little unsettling. A story told well enough and long enough can become worth real money. Billions of it. The stone never changed. Only what we agreed to believe about it. Which leaves a stranger question hanging in the air. If a common rock can be worth a fortune because of a story, then what about the things with no use at all? A splash of paint on a canvas that sells for $100 million. The same trick, or something deeper, or something. If you like this one, hit like and subscribe. Got a topic you want us to decode? Drop it in the comments. We're here to answer the simple question behind everything. Why money?